Hello, family, and welcome back to another episode of Faith and Fun Podcast, where we talk about finding joy in every journey. The guest that we have today, I'm super excited to have him on. We've already been cutting up. Now, his bio, bear with me because it's long, but it's good. He done accomplished a lot of stuff, which is why he's on the show today. Justin Singletary. Justin originated from Great Falls, South Carolina, but now resides in Blythewood, South Carolina. Within his 34 years of life, Justin has created multiple top producing businesses whose story has been featured throughout several magazines throughout the entire world. Within his real estate career, he has developed so many top producing agents and has assisted over 200 families in the Carolinas master the goal of home ownership. In 2018, Justin created his own real estate team, the Justin Singletary Real Estate Team, with teams in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia. His vision was to not only help families get into homes, but to also show others how to build generational wealth. Justin was featured as one of the South Carolina keynote speakers for the South Carolina Real Estate Conference in 2022 and was awarded the top real estate team in North Carolina for the year of 2021. In the year of 2022, Justin Real Estate Team sold over 18 million in real estate sales. Justin has also written two books to help assist our community with purchasing their dream home. Justin was recently in a news article with President Biden about new construction in the Carolinas in 2023. Also, Justin has released his new Roku channel in 2024. In 2023, Justin opened his own real estate firm in South Carolina and North Carolina, JS Premier Real Estate, which has grown fast as well. Justin is not only a broker or business owner, but he also is an investor who shows other investors how to invest and build generational wealth. Justin has been recognized by city officials for his teams having such a strong presence within the community with givebacks and helping people in the community with obtaining their GEDs. But out of all the titles and achievements Justin has accomplished and mastered, he would like to be recognized as a child of God because without God, none of these things would have been possible. Justin, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you for the invite.
No problem. So, Justin, first, I just want to say, you doing the thing.
I'm trying. I'm trying every
When
day.
I've been following you for so long on Facebook, and I'm like, this is what Black excellence look like. And to even start, this Black History Month.
Right. So it's
And the
right on
first day,
time.
I said,
Right on time.
yeah. So I see all of this, and one of the things I mentioned last week on the episode was that I like to bring on people who are doing good things. But the most important thing that gives me is their story
Oh,
of
yes.
how they got to this point.
Oh, yes.
Tell me about little Justin.
So little Justin pretty much grew up. My mom was a single mom. So it was always me and my brother. Of course, he's the oldest. I'm the baby. So pretty much we kind of grew up. My mom made sure the bills were paid. We never lacked anything. So a lot of my willpower, a lot of my wisdom comes definitely from seeing my mom, like be mom and dad. Being just that sole provider. So a lot of that came from that. Also, church. Kind of grew up in the church in the country, Great Falls area. So my grandmother, the late Ruth Pickett, she drugged me to church all the time, anniversaries, revivals, all of that. So, and I tell people at the end of the day, a lot of my success came from the church.
Really?
Oh yeah, learning the behavior of church.
Okay, okay.
First Sunday we wear all white.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
get ready for. So seeing how grandma got dressed and how she made sure I was dressed, that makes me know like, hey, when you show up, you need to show up right.
Okay.
You need to make sure it's done. And I would remember my grandmother even like on Sunday morning, she would wash her car, and I'm like, why are you washing the car? She's like, I never want to take my car on the church yard ground dirty. And so, again, a lot of those different things that I've experienced from my mom, my grandmother, uncles, aunts, brothers, even my dad, A lot of, those things have really molded me to who I am today.
And it was just the little things, like just how to show up,
Oh, yeah.
because you're gonna know how to go. I'm sure going into all of these doors that you've been into, before you even say anything, how you show up says a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because if grandma wouldn't have showed you how to show up, or if grandma wouldn't have showed you, about the clean car, because when you drive on the scene, before you get out of the car, they're gonna look at your car.
That's it. And
Is
I
it
didn't
clean?
realize that. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're just doing too much, Grandma. No, Grandma was really
She
showing me.
she knew the meaning behind it.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
Because she
Oh,
knew
yeah.
where she was going just wasn't no regular place. We're going to give our best.
Come on. Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Don't
it.
start digesting. So she
That's
knew.
it. Yeah.
So
yeah.
when did you realize real estate was your calling? What were your jobs before?
So before, let's start all. We gonna go all the way back.
Okay.
My very first job was KFC,
Uh-oh.
and I quit because I fell in the flow when we was mopping, and I couldn't do it no more.
But you should have stayed to get the check though.
I thought about that, but God told me to just go. So I just got out of KFC, and then I graduated from high school, and I went to nursing school.
Okay.
So I went to Midlands Tech, not Midlands Tech, York Tech.
Uh-huh.
So when I was 18, I made up in my mind, I'm like, Mom, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I'm gonna go to a whole nother city, and I'm gonna try this on my own as an adult at the age of 18.
Wow.
And the reason I did that is because I knew and I saw it with other friends, and I saw it, that if you do, if you stay at home most times with your mom, you never really understand how to be independent.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to this day that I did that, because if I didn't do that, my mom was gonna take care of me. I'm her baby.
Yeah.
So I already
Yeah.
knew that. I think she had bought me like a new Honda when I was in the 12th grade. So I was just like, you know what? I gotta go out here and I gotta learn. And so I moved to Rock Hill, got my CNA license. I worked at Agape, met amazing people there, loved Rock Hill. So pretty much did that. And I was in nursing school at the time at York Tech. And then I was doing like rehab care, also hospice care, all of that. And it just hit me one day, that, hey, this ain't it. This is not for me. And my mom was a nurse. She was an RN for 41 years at Richmond Memorial Hospital. So I felt at that point, am I doing this because Mom wants me to do this? Or am I doing this because this is really solely what I want to do? And I remember to this day getting evicted in Rock Hill. I remember getting evicted when I was working at Agape. I was working at Agape at the time, and my mom and my dad, they both came up. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I'm like, okay, they're going to bring the moving truck. My daddy packed all my furniture on the back of his truck, tied it down, and brought me all the way back home. And brought me back, to my mom's house. So pretty much at that point, I said, well, okay, God, let me figure out what I'm going to do. So then I went and got a job at Sprint. I was working at Sprint, selling cell phones. And then after that, I was like, sales is my thing.
Okay.
I was like, at that point, I see what I'm here to do. I know what God has called me here to do. He wants me to be a salesman. And so I said, well, what can I do in sales to make the most money? Because I'm at entry level if I'm selling cell phones.
Right.
But how can I convert that to actually make more money? And so then I got into property management. And there was a company I was working with. And at the time, I'm still young. I think I was like 21 at that time. I was like 21, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And they started letting me travel to like Texas and all these places. And then they started promising me positions. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting the positions I'm promised, but you got me traveling. You got me selling because, I understand what I'm doing.
Right.
But you don't want to pay me. So at that point, I said, okay, cool. It's all well and fine. I'm going to go to real estate school. And that's when I made up my mind I was going to go to real estate school, because I was tired of being promised a position that I know I worked for, that I knew I understood, because you got me going to different states, training people. But is it because of my color? What is it that do I not fit the scale of, what you wanted your regional managers to be or whoever to be? Why could I not get that position? So I always tell people, if somebody will never invite you to the table, create your own table. And at that moment, that's what I did. And at that moment, something just reared up in me. And even when you're going through things and when you're trying to find your destiny, right?
Mm.
This is what you got to understand, that the enemy is going to attack your
Mm-hmm.
mind. I always tell people, if with anybody with cancer, once the cancer has spread it to the brain, they dead. So when the enemy can attack your mind, you pretty much dead. So you can't allow the enemy to attack your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this time, I had got a job downtown Columbia. It was lofts. They were just open. I was a leasing manager at that time, and the boss called me in one day, and I had finally got my license. I got everything good. She called me in one day, and she was like, "I just don't think you're gonna do good in real estate." I mean, she dogged me out, and I actually recorded it, and I listened
Mm-hmm.
to this and I've been doing real estate now for 5 years, and I listen to this every month just to encourage me from where I really come from.
Yeah.
This lady, she looked me in my eyes, younger lady at the time, looked me in my eyes and just basically said, "No, you're not going to do great. I don't think this is good for you. If you can't do this, I don't know how you're going to do that." So and I remember like it was yesterday again. um, I remember I was just like, "Okay, God, I'm done with this." And I literally, I pulled a black move that day. I really did. I pulled a black move, and I went in that office at 11 o'clock at night, and I got my stuff, and I left the key on the table. And after that day, I let them know, like, "Hey, I'm not coming back." And I went into real estate full time. And I tell the story all the time. And when I got into it full time, I remember I was behind on my car payment 3 months,
Mm.
but I had to trust God. And I think with people when they get into their destiny and they're trying to cross over, because at the end of the day, you're trained in school to be one way.
Yeah.
You're trained to go on a 9 to 5 one way. But when you
Yeah.
walk into entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
you have to change your mindset. You can't do the same thing what you was doing when you were working 9 to 5. You have to change your mindset. And so I had to change my mindset, and my mindset was, the normal person, yeah, you scared if you were 3 months behind. I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
But faith took over what I saw. Faith took over what I felt.
Yeah.
And when faith takes over, there's so much you can do, but you gotta, number one, you gotta have faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was hiding and dipping and dying, trying not to let the repo man find me. But when I got that first check, I was able to catch up those 3 payments. I was able to, do more. And it was just like a big award to show me that, hey, faith works more than our minds sometimes.
Yeah.
And we have to really walk in faith.
Yeah.
And that's really how I got to where I am today.
There were so many good things that you just shared, but the first thing was you realized that you had to get from around what looked familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say to go somewhere you've never been, you got to do something you've never done.
Oh, most definitely.
And so you're from Great Falls. I'm from Lancaster. We both know.
Uh-huh.
The biggest building in Lancaster is a hospital. And so
Yeah.
and
Pretty
so
big.
that was for me, that was one of my biggest things was I had to leave Lancaster because I knew I knew what I wanted to do and I knew what I saw, but nothing in Lancaster could feed my vision. And it's like you're hungry and like your appetite is on Ruth Chris level, but all you see is Wendy's and Applebee's. And no matter how much you eat, it's just like it's never enough. Like, and it's you can't put it into words. It's like I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I just can't explain. Like I know this isn't it. I know there's more for my life, and I know I'm supposed to be doing more, but I won't know until I just touch it.
Right.
And so it wasn't until I left my 9 to 5. I quit my job as an assistant general manager at a hotel, and they said, "What are you about to do?" I said, "I'm about to do Uber
What?
full time." And they said, "Huh?" I said, "Yeah." And last week I got my W-2 from Uber. I'm not going to share the amount, but it was 30,000 more than what I was making doing an assistant general manager.
That's crazy.
And I said, "God, you don't lie."
Listen, faith.
I said, "You don't lie."
You don't lie.
And so starting this podcast, Uber is funding it, strictly Uber. And so I had to get into my mindset because I don't have to drive Uber. If there's a day I don't want to drive it, I don't have to drive it.
Right.
And so the less mature version of me started to realize that. So it was like, oh, I'm not going to drive today. Well, I'm not going to do this today. I'll probably do a few hours here and there, but you don't work, you don't eat.
Right. Hello.
Versus you salary, you go to work, you can play around. You still gonna get a check at the
Exactly.
end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
now, oh no, you feeding yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You took on this food, you took on this new chapter, so you gonna have to see what it's all about. So I get what you were saying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how has your faith shaped your perspective on success, and how do you define it in your life and your career?
Yeah, so pretty much faith, I mean, that's all it is. I mean, faith is faith. Without faith, you cannot do a lot. You cannot get to that next level. I mean, again, there were so many doors that if I did not walk in them, and sometimes you don't even know what's on the other side of the doors, but you got to be willing to walk. And that's the biggest thing I think. For me, I had to realize, hey, you just got to get up and do it. Like if you don't do it, you'll never know what's on the other side.
So I gotta stop you right there.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I do. Like now when song pop up, I have to stop. It's a little church moment. Like, wait a minute. But when you were saying it, it's like you gotta do it, not knowing if you're gonna succeed.
That's it.
You just gotta go down in history as doing it.
You got to do it. You got to do it. And that's exactly, I mean, that's just how faith works. And the craziest thing is, and I want everybody to know, no matter how many levels you go up, faith, you got to have that on every level. You're never going to walk away from faith.
And it ain't gonna be the same amount of faith.
No, sir.
Because this little faith that it took to open this little door, I'm gonna need some more because okay, we got in, but I'm gonna need a bigger key because this better be a bigger door.
Exactly.
And so I can't depend on what got me here. Now I gotta each round get higher and higher.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So when you were talking to the lady, and I'm sure she was telling you all the stuff that you couldn't do and that you wouldn't do, what kicked in, or did you ever believe her, or you was just set in your mind? You said, "No, I'm gonna show you."
Well, I think what kicked in for me was what I've already been through. With the position. I think that's what kicked in that, hey, no matter if I can sell every apartment in South Carolina, because I'm not the owner, because the color of my skin, because I'm not, too preppy for them. I'm still country from, where we from, the country. So I'm not talking like how they talking, none of that, but I have the skill. You're not going to, and the thing about it is, at that moment I said, nobody will ever be able to control my destiny. Never. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what you want it to look like, but you will never have control over my destiny. Whatever I walk into, I will have control over it for me.
Yeah.
Not for them, but for me.
Yeah.
And I think for me, people just have to understand faith is always going to be faith.
Faith gone.
That's it.
If you just knew what this week was like, that was it right there. So, okay. So we know the color of our skin. And I hate to even go here, but it's Black History Month. We got to go
We
here.
going in. I'm ready. I was waiting.
How was the fight? Because I know it was hard.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And the saddest thing about it is, you may think the fight is on the other side.
We was fighting each other.
But it was never the other side. It's never the other side. And even to this day with what's going on in, the news now and the world, it just shows a big difference of our unity. It shows a true difference. And that's definitely how it is in entrepreneurship. You have so many different sectors of people that say they're for you, right? And they're really not for you.
Let me stop you. So, what I've realized doing this whole podcast and branching out and doing something that I've always wanted to do is that people will support you as long as you're in the realms that they want you to be in. And it's at that moment to where you go a little further than them, to where you realize they don't really care. People will support you as long as you're doing it to the level they expect you to be.
Oh
But
yeah,
once you go above their expectations, oh, it's over.
it's over. It's over. I mean, and that's just us, And a lot of that wasn't corrected from slavery.
Mm,
We are really. I mean, some people are really walking around still in a slavery mentality.
and don't even know
Mindset
it.
and don't even know it. So a lot of that, and like I tell, even with South Carolina. For instance, I always tell people, South Carolina is an amazing state, but we don't have enough resources.
Mm,
So even when you're living in a state where there's not enough resources, people don't get that. They don't understand like, hey, the resources is what you need. And so I always tell people like, hey, you just have to be. You got to understand number one where you come from, what you got going on, because again, South Carolina does not have a lot of resources, but you just have to. We number one, we got to work together. So if you got the podcast, I got the real estate, hey, we could be talking to people about, hey, how to get pre-approved quickly.
mm-hmm.
We could be talking about so many different things. But again, instead of us putting our resources together, we walking in all different boats. It's so much money that you can make together than separated.
And that I've learned, and just like doing Uber, I pick up so many people, and our brothers and sisters of the lighter,
Uh huh.
they'll put their money
Oh,
together,
definitely.
put it in the bank, and trust the friends with it, and come back years later, and it's much more.
Oh, most yeah, all
But
the time.
we can't do that.
No,
We can't trust nobody with our money. You want me to put my money where?
we
You
can't.
you you gonna touch it?
We can't
Well,
do
why I
it.
gotta be that much?
Right.
What?
Or when I'm gonna get it back
Yeah.
when it sells.
What if it don't work?
You gonna get your money back when it sells. But that's kind of what we deal with. But I think again, if we can get the resources together and use each other, hey, we can make it a lot quicker. We can get to the finish line a lot quicker.
Hmm. And a lot of things is a lot of jealousy,
Mm.
and it doesn't even have to be like that.
Nope.
Because my thing is, I don't know what it took for you to get like that, and you don't know what it took. So you jealous of me, but I almost died to get to this point now. Like, you jealous of me, but you don't know I didn't even want to be doing this.
You don't know.
But you jealous of me.
But you upset with me. You mad at me. And I always tell people, they like to go to the cross phase, but they never like to go through, the Calvary phase.
Mm.
People they want to be seen as I did this, I did, but you didn't go through the beating. You didn't go through being spit on. You didn't go through, being hit in you didn't go through all of that. And I always tell people you got to allow people to bear their own cross. But one thing about it is you got to bear it. Don't come to me if you ain't bared it. Don't fool with me if you ain't bared it, because there are so many people, and I even see it to this day, even with me. There's so many people who want to sit at a table with me, but you didn't do enough to even bring a plate to the table. You didn't bring a spoon, a fork, or even a chair. But you want to sit at the table.
Didn't even ask if it was room for you.
Come, Jesus. Now I mean,
You showed up expecting a seat
And
at a
that's-
table you can't afford.
You can't afford. But
and expect to be fed.
and listen, all day, every day.
Wasn't in the kitchen, didn't bring ice cup, but you expect to be fed because you feel like you deserve.
Nope.
Or because you know to cook.
Nope. And it's sad. It is sad, but I experience that all the time. But the higher you go in life with destiny and walking in your calling, it's eventually your spirit will be able to read who's for you and who's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Your spirit will be able to read that.
Let's talk about that, because I know once you made it big, or not even made it big, but became successful publicly, and you know how it is when the hometown, oh, you remember when I did this for you? You remember when I took you to school? Remember when I gave you $20? What you made it, now you too good? How was that?
Ignored. Because you ain't gonna bother my spirit. Because again, I decided one day that I was gonna leave my 9 to 5, and I walked in that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I walked in my destiny. What you're not gonna do is try to destroy what I'm doing.
Ooh.
Because you got to be careful, and that's the other piece to it. we have a lot of black on black abuse, and it's
Mm.
not physical; it's verbal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's very much verbal to the point where people will say very hurtful things. It could be people, friends, family members. They could be say some very hurtful things that will kind of really mess up your spirit.
Let me stop you. Just and they'll say it just because. How can I put it? Just because you're everything they couldn't be,
Jesus.
or you're everything they tried to be, but didn't have enough courage to keep going till they got it.
Mm.
And so this week I had to realize that because I was talking to a few people and I said, I can't want you to be happy more than you want to be happy.
Come on.
I can't want you to be free more than you want to be free. And I have to take my hands off of it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, because it comes to a point to where, I can lead you to the water. I can make it pretty. I can pour Fiji, put a little ice cubes and make it sparkle. But until you realize that you need that water,
That's it.
ain't nothing I can do for you.
Nope.
And see, for me, my thing is I have a big heart. And as much as I want you to drink it, and I'm just like, if you just drink a little bit, you'll realize that the other side is good. And I'm just like, just drink a little bit. Just drink. But they don't want to drink.
Mm.
And I'm just like, you could be so much if you just drink the water.
But they won't do
They
it.
won't do it. For whatever reason, for whatever they went through before, they just won't take that one more chance.
Mm.
And it's like, you're so close if you just take one little drink.
That's it. But they won't do it.
They won't do it.
They won't
And be
do
mad at you because you done tasted and seen his goodness.
Uh-huh. And went back for more. And so he'll do it over and over and over and over.
And my thing is, and I'm learning it because I'm learning that people who I thought were for me were never really for me. They were just comfortable with where I were.
Uh-huh.
And because I needed them, they were okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've healed and I'm on the journey, because my pastor always says, okay, now that you're healed, that's good for you. It don't stop there. Go back and get them.
Right.
Go back and help them heal. Because the only reason you got free is to go free others.
That's true.
You don't get free and celebrate your freedom and forget about those who still going through the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like now that I've healed and I'm going back and trying to, it's just like, oh, you really don't want to be free.
Nope. And I mean, that's how it is. I mean, it's really sad. And like I said, for me, I've always tried to figure out why. Why is it like this? And we have to deal with people's hearts and their minds first. And once you correct the hearts and the minds, hopefully things can change for them. But a lot of people are just bitter. A lot of people are just burdened. A lot of people just really have a lot on top of them. The economy ain't that great. You got inflation. You got, really mothers and fathers out here who really can't make it shake. So it's a lot, that people are dealing with. And we as leaders, what we have to do, number one, we will give you grace, but at the end of the day, we still go through things as well.
And that's another thing. People feel like they can skip that part. They can skip the suffering and just go straight to the supper. But he said, if you suffer with me,
come on,
you can sup with me, but you got to suffer.
You
got to suffer.
You got to.
Because you won't appreciate when we get to the table.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's so crazy because I'm a part of another organization, and we just talked about it, and in those situations, they talk a lot about our generation. And they say that, hey, our generation doesn't want to work. Our generation, they don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. We don't know once our parents are gone, like who's going to be doing Christmas, who's going to be, because our generation is not doing it. But at the end of the day, like I said, our generation has been low-key abused verbally, saying that our generation is messed up. But sometimes we might have to look at the generation before us and have a little bit of correction, because you cannot put the burden on, because we were born and you had to train and teach us.
Come on now.
You had to train and teach us. And I don't blame them. I think what went wrong was, I'm not blaming our parents.
Yeah.
But what I think went wrong was they were trained to get a job, buy a house, and that was the American way.
Okay, let me stop you again. See, I put a post on Facebook a few weeks ago because the Lord had been dealing with me. And the post said, forgive your parents. They were only doing the best they could do. They were only doing what they knew to do. And so a lot of the things now that we're going through, we're just a product of our environment.
Oh, most definitely. Oh yeah.
We because growing up, grandma and them, they didn't talk about stuff. They girdle it up, let's go.
Let's go.
Sweep it under the rug,
Pray
pray, and sweep it
and
under
let's
the rug.
go.
Ain't
Pray.
no
That's it.
pray, but can we talk about it?
Oh,
Like, can I tell you hurt my feelings?
because you have to. Because if you don't talk about it,
It's gonna show up somewhere
it's gonna
else.
show up somewhere in your relationship, in your job. It's going to show. So you got to talk about it, and I think that's why we're here where we are now, because we did not talk about it. There's so much covered up that we didn't talk about. You know, even in
It's a lot that was covered up under the umbrella of prayer.
now you preaching church out. That's it. That's it.
I
That's it.
and that's been the fight for so long.
That's good.
It's a lot under. We covered it with prayer
Yeah,
and forgiveness,
and forgiveness, and walked on.
then walked on and never asked if, well, how you going with your forgiveness walk? Because I've learned in this journey of forgiveness, it's a day-to-day thing.
Oh yeah,
Forgive every time the memory come up. Forgive every time the thought. Forgive every time you see something that reminds you of that place. Forgive.
right. Forgive.
But it wasn't that grown. They didn't know. And so I'm learning, like from people that I come in contact with and podcasts and stuff, our grandmas and grandparents ain't healed from their stuff. So how can they teach?
And it rolls. It's gonna definitely come. I mean, it can go up because they, you know, they got most of them gonna pass away. So what they didn't handle sometimes is rolling over into our lives.
And half of the stuff we wouldn't even have to have dealt with if it was handled back then.
But they didn't know.
Yeah, they didn't know.
You know,
They didn't
they
know.
didn't
They
know.
didn't
So
know. They didn't
we
know.
do got to give them the grace that
Yeah.
they didn't know, but we have to start there.
Yeah.
And the reason, and I'm glad you brought that up because I want to kind of go into probates and, you know, when we have to deal with estates, you know, when our family members die and we don't do the proper paperwork, you know, we don't do the proper planning, we don't do it. And so I deal a lot with that, you know, where I'm seeing people's homes and lands being taken from someone that does not look like us for $1,000 or $2,000, and grandma bought it for probably $180,000. But because the paperwork wasn't right, because when grandma died, you know, everybody was in the family car. Uncle Pookie said he gonna take over grandma taxes. Now Uncle Pookie dead, ain't nobody paying the taxes, and guess what? We done lost the house over taxes.
And it wasn't even that much.
It wasn't even that much. $180,000 house we done lost for $1,000, and now Uncle Pookie dead. Cousin Ray, Keisha ain't got nowhere to stay. When grandma had this whole house,
And Keisha and them was staying in the house.
already
And the house was supposed to be Keisha.
at Bite Week. Keisha at Bite Week. Done took the $1,000, went to Bite Week, and now she done lost.
Came
the house.
home from Bite Week.
In
Ain't,
the
they ain't got no
gone.
house.
Everything outside. You know, but that's why, you know, we are here low key. Why we're here, you know, and it's just like we got to have the conversations. You know, we got to stop. And I'm a big faith walker. I also believe in manifestation and also believe in faith. I'm in both.
Faith
'Cause
without works is dead.
that's it. You can't pray. I always tell people this. You can pray all day long, but if you don't get your tail up in the morning and wash your face and brush your teeth with some Colgate and go on out that door, he can't show up. You prayed. Now he prayed for protection.
And he getting ready. To do it.
To do
But
it
he just waiting
already.
on you to get there.
You got to get there. And I tell the people that all the time. But, you know, it's just, is again, we have to deal with the past. And we just have to, because I'm grateful that our parents did get houses and pay them off. But what we're not too grateful for is we don't have the conversations. You know, we don't know that, okay, if mom did leave today or tomorrow, where do I go get the money, or where, you know, who I need to pay? You know, these are things that we need to have conversations about. It shouldn't be when mama's getting sick. We should know this already. You know, we should know mama pay her electric bill here. Mama does this here. I remember even when I got out of high school, I was like, mama, I don't know how to pay, where I'm supposed to pay the water bill. You know, but I would go and see Bob going right up there paying the what, and I'm looking crazy like, well, Lord, do I go over to this building or that? But again, we never saw.
Yeah.
We always saw them go is to work. They came home, they cooked, but we never saw how to pay bills. We never saw a lot of things, and I
Yeah.
think once we get back to that part of it, things will change because again, to this day, I'm 34. I'll be 35 this month. And there's guys my age that will call my office and they're like, hey, I'm ready to get pre approved. And I'm like, hey, what's your credit score? Oh, where do I check
Mm-mm.
that at? Or where do I, and that's how bad it is. But that lets you know you're in a state with not enough resources.
So, okay, you keep talking about the resource. So, what are some of the resources that, if you could have your way, and if the resources that we need could be there, what are some of the resources that you would implement?
Definitely number one, getting into schools with our young black men. Having organizations for our young black men to automatically start them off. And I also do this. We only do it like once a year. And we do it in July, and we call it the Kings and Queens of Real Estate.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the kids come out, they dress in black and white. We show them how to invest. We give them like fake money and show them, hey, if you buy a house, this is your house payment, this is your water bill, and this way they know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
These are conversations that these babies need to have at 5. I
Yeah.
don't think we need to wait till they're 15 because you do have some kids who lose their parents at an early age and they have to become the parent.
Let's put a pin right there. I was talking to my friend the other day, and we were talking about credit and cars, and I said, I wish that somebody would have talked to me about credit,
Oh, yes.
about the importance. And she said, yeah. I wish it was a subject in school because nobody told us.
No.
Nobody told us if you mess it up, it gets messed up.
Right.
And you're going to have to work 10 times harder to get. Nobody told us.
Right. Oh, yes.
Until it was.
Too late.
Yeah, when you about to apply for something. Like,
Too
you going
late.
to run
Oh,
your credit.
yeah.
What you mean you run my credit?
Right. What is that?
So-
Yeah.
So why do you feel like we don't have those conversations? Do you just feel like we don't feel like it's important, or why do you feel like we don't?
Mama and daddy had to work.
Yeah.
They had to work to keep everything they had. So they didn't have really time to really take with us to even talk about that. So I think that's been the heaviest thing. But just because mom and daddy it's not able to work, we need to have these resources in place so that we're able to teach our young people, and even, it could be me or you in the business, anybody, we could get together and definitely talk to our youth and start them off early, start them off with money market accounts, start them off with bank accounts. They can go ahead and do these things now because again, like I said, we never know what life can bring. But, our life don't have to be a certain way if we train our youth up the right way they need to go.
And another thing just popped into my mind. We feel like as, our kind of people, we feel like we got it when it's name brand. And we Nike down, but our credit score 350.
Jesus, you might well go home if you're 350.
And it's like it's like, we dress well.
Oh yeah.
But when it's time to put the money where the mouth is, you think you can put it in your name for me?
Right. A cosign. No,
Yeah,
I ain't doing that. But I mean, I think we're like that. Again, because number one, in the South, it ain't a whole lot to do. So when you invited somewhere, them people, they gonna put that stuff on.
Okay.
They gonna shop.
4th of July cookout.
4th of July.
Camouflage pants.
They gonna put
a
it
red,
on.
white, and shirt.
Oh yeah, I
and
think
some
they're gonna
nice-
put it on. And I think also too, we don't know the true definition of value in real estate. We don't know what to invest the money into. Money market account, like these are certain things. There's so many investments that you can invest your money in and make a great return. And I think if people knew that, that would be great. But the biggest issue is I teach those classes all the time. I do those seminars all the time. But I also have a Christmas ball every year. And that, we have a big ball, have fun, all of the above. But the craziest thing to me is we have more guests there than we do at these seminars teaching you how to do probate, teaching you how to do estates, helping you set up your trust, your wills.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably have 5 to 10 people. Sometimes we'll get 15 to 20, but if it's a party, oh, it's about 100, 200 people, and
Mm-hmm.
they're coming. So again, I can't, in my mind, I don't know how we can convert that because
Yeah.
we've tried, but I don't know how we can change the people's mindset to say, hey, this is a lot more important than actually the party.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing, how to invest your money is more important.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think we have to be able to help the people's heart and their mind because there's really no other way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's possible. Of course, we're going to continue to do them. I'm
Right,
never
right,
going to
right.
walk away from it. We're still going to continue to do those seminars. But again, within our culture, they will show up for the cookout, but they will not show up for learning how to invest.
And it's one of those things to where we can explain all day we want to, but sometimes people just won't understand until it's them, or until they have to, or until they're forced to understand, or until they just fall flat on their face.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because we try to prevent you from getting to that point, but you don't want to listen.
Right.
And so it's just like, okay, you leave me no other choice.
What else I'm
I mean, we
supposed
tried
do?
to tell you
Yeah.
way back that you needed life insurance, and now you on GoFundMe.
You on GoFundMe?
We
gotta
tried.
stop that. We're not gonna do that GoFundMe. Well, I done seen it already, but with 2026, we're not gonna do that. We gotta let it go because it's just not. It's not worth it. And there's so many life insurance policies that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
You could do short term. You could do long. There's so many things that are out there, but again, we don't walk into it. We don't do it.
We just have to want to do it.
Right. We gotta
And
want to
first
do
we
it.
got to see the importance of it.
Exactly. And it's very
Yeah.
important. It's very important to not put your family through that burden, at that time. For one, they got to grieve.
Yeah.
Now they got to figure out how they're going to bury you. That's a lot to carry.
And we're going to grieve because we ain't have no money.
We ain't
so
have no
grieve
money.
extra hard.
And then we got to get chicken and we got to call all these.
And that's
too
the money
much.
we was going to use on the GoFundMe.
You're going to be in there 3 weeks, and it is what it is.
Just going to
Because you could have had a
That's why the
policy.
funeral be taking so long.
That's why it be taking long. You just going to be on the ice, and that's what it's going to be. Because we're not, you had time to get it done. I just don't understand. But, again, we run into that all the time. But we have to train our people like, hey, if you get these free seminars, show up. Show up, learn how to do your wills. Show up, learn how to do your trust. Just show up and learn and have these things in place. And then another thing, too, it's more young people dying than old people.
Yeah.
So I think for our race, that's something that we don't talk. We're scared to die. You gonna die.
Exactly. I hate when they be like, well, if something happen, no, something
Something
gonna happen.
happen.
You mean when you leave here?
When
Ain't
you
no
leave-
ifs, ands, or buts. You got to get from
got
out
to
of
leave.
here.
You
they
gotta go.
love to say, well, if something, happened to me, you mean when?
When? It's gonna happen. I don't understand why we don't plan, and I don't understand why is it such a bad conversation or a burden. Don't nobody know where you going. That's up between you and whomever, wherever you going. But you still need to not leave the burden on your family, and you still want to go out right.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Going back to grandma. How she drove up in that church yard to make sure.
Y'all better
I
pull me
don't
in
want
there.
nobody looking. Talk about just he done made all that money and ain't got no insurance. No, I don't want that. That's gonna look so tacky and terrible. So that's why I always tell people you really need. I want everybody to have a program. All of that.
A little white horse.
A little white horse.
chariot or
I don't
something.
want 5 programs. People got to scan a QR code to pull up That's crazy. I don't want all that. Give me the 500 programs. That's what I want. So, I'm going to make sure I have
Little
a
rope
policy.
around the casket.
That's it. Go. That's it.
Look
Yeah.
over.
It's all done. Got my little
Fully
suit in the
over. I need
closet
my
ready.
feet crossed. and
Feet crossed.
Aretha
That's
Franklin.
it. Just
That's
about
it.
fly away. Yes, Lord. But we gotta have those conversations because again, it is embarrassing when all the people go to that table and they find out you ain't got no money. They're gonna be talking on Facebook. So we gotta have those conversations and bring it back to the community.
Yeah. So, so in what ways do you think the real estate industry can better support young Black entrepreneurs?
Ooh, that's a good one there. Number one, if you get into real estate, and of
Mm-hmm.
course you at that time, will be a young black entrepreneur. When you get into it, number one, I always tell people stay true to yourself. Don't be, out here trying to copy this person in real estate
Mm-hmm.
or be like this person in real estate because number one, God anointed you. He gave you one anointing, and nobody else can carry that anointing. And I think when people get into real estate, they try to be like this person and that person. But I always tell people be authentic, be
Mm-hmm.
you.
Because God didn't give you the grace for somebody
Oh
else.
no,
He
oh
gave you
no,
your grace for your assignment.
that's it,
And when you operating in something you ain't got no business, you operating in false identity. He
that's
can't
it.
bless you if you ain't operating in
And
your authentic.
you scamming at that point.
That's it.
That's it.
Because at
So
this point, who you blessing?
who
Me or them? Because I'm trying to be like them.
I'm trying to be like them. So I tell people like I think that is the number one thing, for real estate, especially for our younger black people. Get in the game and work hard. Again, you gotta come in with and I go through this with newer agents
Mm-hmm.
that come in the game and a lot of people want people to hand everything over to them.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I had to bear a cross as well. When I started in real estate, being called a nigga, in real estate by someone that does not look like me. I was ready to go to war. Yeah, oh, I've been through it all. Had guns pulled out before in a listing meeting.
All you want to do was sell a
That's
house.
it. I had to go down this Lord Jesus, y'all. This was scary though. This went
Sundown town.
this was bad. I was in Pageland, and it was a long dirt road. And I was going to talk to a guy about selling his modular home, and I promise you, like it was nobody on the road, and it was
Mm-mm.
just a long dark road. Cool guy. I mean, we talked on the phone before I got there. Went in the kitchen. He had a whole rifle sitting on the table,
Mm-mm.
and I'm talking to him about selling. I'm talking to him about like how we gonna get it sold. But when I saw that rifle, I said, Lord, if I can make it from this table, because I was at the kitchen table with him. So I'm like, Lord, if I can make it from the kitchen table to the door, and then from the door to the car, I'll be all right. So I just told him, I was like, sir, well, I had a wonderful time. It was a great meeting. But he wasn't trying to attack me or anything. But I'm not used to that. Number one, I'm out here, I ain't have no service. I was like, Lord, this it. I was in my mind saying I should wear a crown the whole time. I was just saying I should wear a crown when it's all over. I kept saying it. And at that moment, I said, well, let me just tell him I'm going to leave. But he was really genuine. But again, that would have freaked anybody out. Like somebody would have probably fainted. But again, I had to bear my cross. I had to go through that. So much. Like it's so much that I had to go through in real estate to get to where I am. So again, you can't walk in my anointings because you didn't bear any of
Mm.
anything that I went through.
It
So
was.
it's not. I'm not being cocky. I'm not being, uh, uh, you know, none of the above or thinking I'm better than you. I'm just letting you know, like you got to be able to walk in your own anointings. And a lot of people say, "Well, how you do this?" How, I can't explain. I don't even have a manual. I tell my agents before you come and work for me, I don't have. I'm not giving you. I teach by experience. And some people it works for, and some people it doesn't work for. Some people literally have to have a black and white book, and they have to have somebody sitting in front of them, explaining this, that. I'm not that type of teacher. I'm teaching you through experience. Because when you go through experience, that's something nobody will ever, ever be able to take
Mm-hmm.
from you. With experience, what I've learned is with the experience, that is something that is attached to your spirit and your heart and your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But when you read black and white, it ain't nothing attached.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go through the experience of
Ooh.
it, you can go in a courtroom and win the case without a
Cause
lawyer.
you done been there.
Because you done been there. You know it like the back of your hand. So I always tell people never stop running from the experience.
Mm.
Because all you doing is holding up your destiny. You holding up your blessing. And you know at the end of the day, I don't know how much time you got. You don't know how much time I got. So I had to learn, okay, God, I'm gonna trust you in the experience. I'm not gonna trust you out of the experience. I'm gonna trust you in the
Mm-hmm.
experience. And that is really how I got to where I am today. But so many people will stop me. How you did this? I don't know. I kept going.
I suffer for this.
I, s- you better hold
I put on Facebook the other week. I said, 2025, I'm not apologizing for no blessing.
Mm-mm.
Because I suffered for this.
Yes,
I worked
sir.
for this. I deserve this.
Oh, yes, sir. Oh,
I
yes,
put in my
sir.
time.
Most definitely.
And that's the thing. It's like people that's probably, starting out realtor and they see you and they want the car, the house, they want all that, and they want it like tomorrow.
Yeah.
But they don't know how many times you was at home trying to talk yourself through it to keep going. They don't know.
They don't know.
And that's the thing with social media.
Mm.
We only post when we up.
What's good? Come on.
What we want you to see.
Uh-huh.
When me and Pookie, we good. We only post that, but
Not Pookie.
ain't nobody posting when you this close.
They don't want to post it.
Them dark nights,
Come
we ain't
on.
posting.
Come on, yeah.
And then when we back up, we posting the Lord is good. But no, let me talk about when you was doubting him. Let's talk about that. Because there's a whole bunch of people out here looking at you. And they're wondering, well, how you stay up every day? Baby, I'm not up every day.
I'm not. I just keep going, but I ain't up. I ain't up. And I posted that. That's so crazy you brought it up. I posted my testimony pretty much at the end of 2024 for New Year's. And I was just telling them all the hell that I went through in 2024. I think it was January, February. Doctor was like, hey, we think you going into kidney failure. So I'm like, okay, God, what am I supposed to do? And during that experience, I still had to go to different specialists. I still had to go to different doctors, but I was still showing up training my agents. I was still showing up helping my clients, and they didn't even know what I was going through. You having to go give blood, that's draining. That is a draining thing. They didn't even know what I was going through, but I still showed up and did what I had to do. 2 months after that, my mortgage went up $1,000. God, okay, now, Lord, now what's going on now? Now you increasing the debt, but I need some little more coins, But he reminded me, did I ever leave you?
Ooh.
If I didn't leave you in 2022 or 2023, don't think I'm going to leave you in 2024. And so I had to have faith, okay, God, I'm going to pay it. I'm going to pay it. And I kept paying it. And the craziest thing, y'all, the update to that testimony, my mortgage company called me back this week. And they said, well, yeah, we got everything straight, but we're going to send you a check back because you've overpaid. So, I always tell people, had I aborted my assignment because my mortgage went up then, had I aborted my assignment, cried and said, Mama, I can't do it, put my house on the market, had I aborted my assignment, I would have lost my mind. And that's the thing I tell people, you got to stay in the race, no matter what comes.
You got to remember why you started.
You got to remember, that's it. That's it. And it took me a year later. Yeah, I'm going to get, that, and that was a lot to pay $1,000 more a month. But it took me a year later, but guess what? I'm getting a check back, so now I got a head start for 2025.
Yeah. Remember why you started and remember who called you to start.
That's it.
Because, God, if you called me to this place.
You got me.
Because that means I'm here because you sent me. I ain't here on my own.
Most definitely.
So, and sometimes you have to rehearse what he said back to you. God, you said. God, this is what you said. I didn't ask to be here. You sent me here. So you ain't got no choice but to make sure I'm good.
That'll preach.
I learned that God will give you the lesson before he'll teach you about it. He'll give you the test before the lesson.
Oh, yes. Most
He'll
definitely.
make you sick before he show that he'll heal them.
Oh, yeah. That's just God. He gonna let you know first.
It's going to all come back to him.
It's going to come back to him regardless.
At the end of the day, you're going to need me. You're going to need
matter.
the Lord.
And that's why I tell people, it don't matter how the story, it's all going to circle right back around to him.
Last week when we were filming, I said the beginning and the end is already written. It's that middle part.
That's the middle part.
That's going to get you.
It's what's in
It's
the middle.
that middle part that's going to make you risk it all.
Oh, yeah.
But if you flip to the end of the book,
if you can get there, that's it.
And sometimes you just have to peek and be like, okay, God, you said I'm going to win. So, let me get it together.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know what you said and you ain't going to lie. So I'm going to be good.
And that's just how he is. He's an all circle God. That's all to it. He going to bring it right back in one big circle.
And take care of you while you're going through.
And take care. And that's the part. I went through that. Then we bought some land in the neighborhood and built a house on it. And the guy flat out called me and was like, yep, you were in, and you got a whole bunch of ends working for you. And I called the police because at this point in time, I'm thinking in my mind, it's 2024. Why am I experiencing, what they went back through? And so I didn't even know how to deal with it because it was such a shocker. So I called the police, I called the real estate board. They said ain't nothing we can do. And I'm like, okay, God, so this is crazy. Like, and at that moment, it was more hurtful because I didn't know what to do. I didn't
Mm.
know because I never would have thought in 2024 we would be going through that.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up, and at that moment I was freaking out, but we still sold the house.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
might have been whatever you wanted us to be, but we still got that check. But
We
again,
are in word that sold the house.
that's it.
Call me
A
what you
whole
want.
bunch of 'em.
Call me what you
That's
want, but I
it.
got the bag.
And we built the house too,
Okay.
from the ground up. So again, going through all of that, and I posted it to not only show my agents but also show other agents. Bro, you got to be willing to go through the hell, but still show up. And don't nobody, everybody, and be careful. Be very careful who you share what you going through with,
Because
because
Vince go in other rooms.
almost definitely.
Oh.
And cancer spreads. So I tell people, if you telling somebody on stage 1 and they out there talking about it, guess what? By the end of it, you're going to be at stage 4, because you got to be careful who you tell your business to and what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to, number one, who brought you to where you are, God.
Mm-hmm.
If you ain't talking to him about it, it ain't nobody else need to be involved, because
That's
he
it.
got you in this for a reason.
That's it.
And I tell people that all the time. But yeah, that was an experience.
So, what unique challenges have you faced being a broker and a realtor, not only in South Carolina, but North Carolina and Georgia?
Um,
Was it that bad in South Carolina?
it's South Carolina. Yeah, South Carolina was rough. South Carolina was rough. Um, the biggest thing for me, I guess, for the challenging piece, is really our older agents who are the same color as me.
Mm.
I think a lot of them forget that somebody had to train them. Somebody had to carry them to where they are. I think a lot of them doesn't really give the younger ones that look like them enough faith. They don't give us enough, and that's even in the community. As entrepreneurs, a lot of older people don't really respect the younger black entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
that has the same color. They will call Bob to sell their house before they call Justin.
Mm. And don't even realize Bob trying to get over on you.
The whole time they will do that. And again, I think that's something we have to address within our own community. But I think the biggest challenges have been that I've done deals to where, and it's so crazy, to where most of the older black agents, they want receipts, they want invoice, they want this. And I'm just like, if it was somebody with a different firm, Bob at a different firm, you wouldn't be asking all these questions.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be doing. I had an incident that happened the other day with a broker, an older broker, that I thought we were so tight, we were so close, we was this and that, and they ended up involving department, one of the departments in real estate, with a situation where we could have had a conversation about.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, you didn't have the conversation with me. You went and got the other folks involved,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and now everybody looking crazy. Even though we done corrected everything, and it was something so simple, but that's what we deal with. It's a lot of us trying to tear us down.
Yeah.
And if we can understand, hey, we got to stop doing that. And that part has been a challenge. That has definitely been a challenge. And it's not that, I'm coming in the real estate game to take over. It's not enough. I don't have that much power. That's a lot to do. I'm coming into it to help who God called me to help. Every client, and I had to learn too, every client is not your client. Everybody that calls your phone and say, I got a 700 credit score, I got $300,000 to put down, that don't mean you my client.
Yeah.
That don't mean, because God already ordained who was my client. And when I realized who's ordained to be my client, I'm going to get you to that closing table. And I had to learn that, in this whole game. But, again, it's just dealing, again, with that, knowing who your client is, knowing who's for you. That has been a challenge. Another challenge I would say is definitely training our agents, our age group. Because the mindset is, I want it today. I want it tomorrow. I don't want to sacrifice. That has been a challenge. But again, I think and I wouldn't say there are so much of challenges because you can get over them, but those have been some really challenges. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think most of it is because of a few bad apples and spoiled it
Oh
for the rest
yeah.
of us.
Oh yeah.
Because I know I'm quick now when it come to my car, I'm gonna take it to Bob.
That's it.
I ain't gonna take it to Pookie now, cause
That's it. Now
he,
why you got? Wait a minute. Now
I don't know.
you got to take care of Pookie too.
I mean, I just I don't know. Like, sir, and I feel like that's how.
But that I mean I get it. I get
And
it.
I know I'm wrong now. That's I'm wrong, but it's just like one little bad apple then spoiled it, and it's just like who can you
Who can you
who
run
can
to?
trust?
Right. That's
Yeah,
true. That's true. Yeah. And it's hard. It is very hard. But that's how we can advance as a people.
yeah,
The more sales we get, the more we can involve and do more in the community. But it is some bad apples out here.
yeah,
It is, and they will do that.
yeah.
So yeah.
And then even like I know because you're young, and when I was a manager, all of my people that I managed were much older. And so trying to tell somebody 2 times your age what to do, they'd be like,
Jesus.
I ain't finna listen to my grandson. You old enough to be my grandson, my son. And so that's the thing too, like older people we can tell you, you wrong.
Oh
Like
yeah.
we know some stuff too. He called both of us. He called you for wisdom. He called me because I can get it done.
Right.
We can work together.
We can work together
But
and
they
get
don't
it
want to
done.
hear that.
They don't want
hear
to hear that. They
that.
don't want to do it. And I think again that goes back to just how a lot of things how we were brought up, not handling certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to experience that as leaders. We experience that a lot from a lot of women that may be older,
Mm-hmm.
and men as well.
Yeah.
We experience that hey, oh, you're just too young to do this, and you're just too young to do that. No, you're not. You're anointed. Your anointings doesn't come with an age.
Because now our younger people are the people that's going through more stuff than the older people. And
Right.
our younger people are advancing
Quickly.
faster and growing up. Like the stuff the young people experiencing now ain't the same stuff grandma and them was experiencing. So we in a whole nother time.
Oh
So
yeah.
we young, but we done been through some stuff.
Right. Right.
And if the older people would just listen to the younger people, they're gonna be like, well, dang,
right. And I mean,
you went through
even
all that.
that's even with buying a house. It's not the economy is not the same as it was when our parents bought a house with no money down, and they probably got a house for 83,000. That now, if we were going to go buy it, it would cost probably 250.
Mm-hmm.
The everything has changed. It's a whole
Mm-hmm.
different economy. It's a different president.
Yeah.
Everything has changed,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think parents and older people they have to give us that grace to understand. Hey, it's not the same as when we grew up. It's not the same. It's not the same economy. We're not making the same money.
Mm-hmm.
Inflation is not. You paying $13 for eggs.
This ain't the same $1.75 bread that
This
grandma
ain't
used to
it.
buy at the bread box. I'm like, I'm still trying to find that bread.
It's not it. So they're not understanding that hey, you got to give us grace. Number one, because we are having it a lot harder to walk into ownership. Even with cars and houses,
Yeah.
it's not the same.
Mm-hmm. So, what legacy do you hope to leave behind, both as an entrepreneur and a person of faith?
So one legacy I definitely want to leave behind is I want to be able to be that person that people knew that hey, he helped this person get to six figures. He helped this person, go to the next level. Another thing I want to leave behind is the legacy of people having those resources.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what a trust the will is, knowing how to find your credit score, knowing what to do with your credit, knowing how to leverage your credit and your money. Really just being that generational wealth knowledge, leaving that behind for me would be the best thing. When I get to glory and I look down here and I see people down here investing and I see people down here, buying malls and doing the things that we were all called to do. Being able to see that, to be able to look down and say that was done because of something that I trained somebody how to do or I showed someone how to do,
Yeah.
that will give me joy.
Yeah. So, one last question. If there was a piece of advice that you could give to your younger self who was starting out from this place now, advice that you would give to that Justin, what would it be?
I wouldn't take nothing from my journey now.
Oh, yes. Ooh, that's about to stir.
That's all I would. I wouldn't take nothing.
Nothing.
I wouldn't change it out of all of the things I've been through from I had COVID real bad. Didn't think I was gonna make it. I wouldn't take nothing for I thank God for it.
Mm.
I was in a car accident, didn't think I was gonna make, but I wouldn't take nothing for none of the things that I've been through. So I mean, I guess I would look at myself and say, "Keep going, young soldier.
It's gonna all pay off.
It's all gonna pay off after a while. Payday,
Going ooh payday.
payday
When they
is
say
coming.
serving the Lord gonna pay
Come
off.
on, after a
That
while. That's
uh,
it. That's what I would tell myself. So I encourage, every young person, get up. Get up, get out of your misery, get out of your thought process, get up. Just get up every day. And there's days, when I get up, I'm like, dang, I got to pay for this office. I got to pay my mortgage. I got to pay for this. But every day, God makes a way.
mm-hmm.
Every single day, every day. I may have an agent calling me, hey, I need training for this. Or my mama calling me, hey, I need you to go run and get, got all this on my shoulder. But every day, God gives me grace. He gives me mercy. He gives me will to keep
Mm.
going. And I think it's all about keeping going.
Yeah.
And I think if people can just get up every day, no matter what you're going through, no matter how you feel, hurt, pain, sick as a dog. I remember being in the bed when I was sick. I remember being in the bed. I was still marketing. I was still showing up in my business, still sending people their paychecks, still doing what I needed to do because I knew I had to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say that it took all of that
Oh
to
yeah.
get here.
Oh yes. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. And I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Well, Justin, I'm so glad that you came.
Me
I
too.
am
We done
so.
had church. I don't even know. Y'all got chicken or something out there? Because we done had a whole revival.
Just I'm so glad, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. No, I'm proud
I
of you.
no, just chill
I'm
out.
proud of you.
Just see you're setting an example,
Yes, sir.
and I always say, okay, now if I see Justin doing that, let me get up from here.
Oh, yeah.
So it's the reason why he's in. And I was telling Bobby, I said the people who on season one, God said, I'm put the people in your path already.
That's it.
You ain't even got to go far.
Mm.
They already in your circle, in your life,
Already on the
your
calendar.
I said, okay.
It's already playing. That's it.
I said, okay. Family, thank you so much for tuning into the second episode of Faith and Fun. We'll see you next Sunday.